Production by Liang,杜晚香, author, Ling. A branch of red apricot. Spring is here, and the spring breeze carries yellow sand and flies on the plateau. The dry air sucks away the little water vapor, cracks open on the ground, and people look at the sky and sigh. But the grass quietly came out of this gap, and the ground was dyed green in small patches, and the tree buds slowly stretched, and in the gray and earth-colored ravines, there was a constant sound. The sound of gurgling water. A thin stream chanted lonely and low. The steep mountain road that occasionally passes small groups of cattle and sheep is winding and winding, high and low. From the short wall of rubble on the roadside, a dazzling red apricot in full bloom protruded, causing confusion on this side of the ditch and on the other side of the ditch. People walking uphill and down the ditch cast their eyes with joy. Oh! This is spring, a spring that cannot be suppressed, frozen, or dry. All things always raise their heads and stand upright towards the sunshine stubbornly, showing the power of their life. The 8-year-old evening-scented daughter of the Dew family. After 3 years of enduring the disgusting looks, stern scoldings, and sudden slaps from her stepmother, she was able to take on a lot of housework, and she also enjoyed the joy of labor. She could go down to a deep ditch half a mile away and carry most of the load of water, completely taking over her father's burden. At noon every day, she would climb up to the plateau 3 miles high with a small load of food and give it to the planers. The father of the earth. Her father loves her. But he could only look at this lovely girl secretly with sympathetic eyes. But Wanxiang, a little girl, didn't pay attention to this. She only enjoyed the vast blue sky and the white clouds flying in the blue sky. This plateau is so vast that you can see all the way to the end of the sky. The high plateau was spread out, with here and there some poor men similar to her father, bending over to tend the plots here and there, and there were dozens or even a dozen sheep scattered in some uncultivated land, looking for grass to eat. How comfortable. Little eyes. A pair of long eyes with single eyelids, like the phoenix eyes in ancient paintings, searched in all directions. Several big eagles were circling all over the sky. Sometimes they were above the head, and then they disappeared again. Where did they fly to? Did they go to find their mother? She will come back one day. Mother's eyes are so soft, mother's hands are so warm, mother's words are so kind, and sleeping in mother's arms is so sweet. Wanxiang has not had her mother for 3 years. She misses her during the day and dreams about her in the middle of the night. When will she come back? Wanxiang has always believed in her own thoughts. If her mother goes to her grandmother's house for something, her mother will come back one day. Once we reach the plateau where the sea and sky are vast, these thoughts fly freely like an eagle. How comfortable the innocent young mind is. Evening fragrance is like this, like a branch of red apricot. No matter it is windy, rainy, or yellow sand is everywhere, she always rushes to bloom behind the stone wall, awakening the desolate ravine with her bright color, and giving comfort to the suffering people. Comfort. And it inspires them to dream about the light. Being a daughter-in-law. 1 year passed, another year passed, and 5 years passed. When Wanxiang turned 13, her stepmother decided to marry her to a family named Li somewhere in the opposite country. That day she carried a very small bag, which contained an old coat, an old pair of trousers, a pair of old shoes, a wooden comb with missing teeth, and a small mirror as big as the palm of her hand, and followed her father out of the house. It was winter, and all the houses in the ravine were closed. Only the old man from the house at the head of the village stood at the door waiting for them to pass by, and said to her, "Fragrant girl, go to Lee's house, listen to others, do their own things in a good manner, and don't make others angry." Yes. Just such a person, one sentence. It did make the hard-hearted Wanxiang's eyes hurt for a while. She etched these words and the old man's voice and appearance in her mind forever, even though she never saw him again. This was her only farewell to the remote poor valley where she had lived for 13 years. Snow began to fall on the plateau, and my father didn't say a word, just walked silently ahead. He couldn't bear to let this little girl become someone else's wife, and he also thought that he felt sorry for her dead mother, because he didn't take a good look at this girl as she wished. But he felt that everything was not as he wished, and there was nothing he could do about it. Just leave her to her fate. The road was not close, so Wanxiang trudged on the cold plateau, facing the early wind, and walked forward by following her father's footprints in the snow. She knew she was about to enter another world. She has no illusions about her new life, but she is not afraid either. She felt that she was no longer young and could withstand everything. She also saw people who were wives. She can work and endure hardship. She can deal with any unfamiliar environment she enters. She is a small tree growing in the wind and frost. She is a branch of red apricot in early spring. Anyway, she is an orphan girl who has lost her mother. Her parents-in-law, aunts and uncles are just another stepmother. The Li family is a large family. The old couple has 4 sons and 4 grandsons. Wanxiang is the daughter-in-law of their youngest son. Although they are a poor family, they are much better off than Wanxiang's family. They have about 20 acres of land, and they grow and eat by themselves. They built a small kong in their house for their youngest son and their new daughter-in-law. For the first time in her life, Wanxiang made a bed of newly rolled wool felt. She felt the short-haired hard felt and felt very warm. The 3 sisters-in-law sighed when they saw her thin body. What can this little girl do? $50 would be better than buying a donkey. Wanxiang didn't talk much. She looked at the things around her and listened to her family's discussions. She knew what was going on in her heart. Her mother-in-law led her and taught her to do various tasks at home. Wanxiang calmly carried out her tasks. Water. Light the fire, wash the pots and cook, feed the chickens and pigs. Soon I was on duty like several sisters-in-law and worked on the stove. On days when her shift came, she would stand on a small bench and cook meals for a dozen people in the family. She could also carry loads of water, rice soup and meals uphill and down ditches. She learned to weed, plow, and mow in the fields, and she could always catch up with others quietly. My father-in-law is a good person, and he can't find anything wrong with her. The sisters-in-law were all sharp-tongued and could not say anything good about her. Evening fragrance took root again in this small ravine, working diligently. I have been working hard for this big family for many years. This new small ravine is now her entire world. The earth-shaking changes outside have not shaken this remote ravine. Sometimes my father-in-law would bring home bits and pieces of news he heard in the village, but to an ignorant little girl, these news were as ordinary as the wind on the plateau or the water in the ditch blowing and flowing down. However, the wind blows louder and louder, and the water flows louder and louder. And it came to every remote mountain ravine. Lajayagu couldn't help but get involved. There are no landlords or rich farmers in this ditch. A few plots of land are owned by oneself, and large tracts are rented from other villages. Now suddenly the People's Liberation Army, the Communist Party, and the work teams came. Suddenly, acres and acres of land belonged to those who farmed them. Wanxiang's family was also allocated a lot of land based on their population. My father-in-law and mother-in-law kept their mouths open all day long, and the old couple climbed up to the plateau every day, walking past this field and then that field, looking at this crop and that crop. Green and yellow, what kind of world is this? Such a good thing. Wanxiang could not deeply understand the feelings of the old people for a while, but the joy of the family being allocated land infected her, and she was busy with enthusiasm. Soon, the People's Liberation Army expanded. Just listen to what everyone says about resisting U.S. aggression and aiding Korea. To resist U.S. aggression and aid Korea, before Wanxiang had time to understand this new term, the youngest son of the Li family signed up to join the army. The two old men said that this is what they should do. We have 4 sons in our family. So soon. Wanxiang's husband Li Dan said goodbye to this high plateau and deep ditch wearing red and flowers. This happened in 1951. When Wanxiang was 17 years old. Mom is back. At this time, another land reform review team came. There is a middle-aged woman in the work team. This lesbian settled in Wanxiang's house and slept on Wanxiang's small kong. She followed them uphill and farmed during the day. He cooks and feeds the pigs, and teaches the village women how to read in the evening. No woman could be more interested in her than Wanxiang. She took a fancy to this 17-year-old daughter-in-law. After chatting with her for half a night every night, Wanxiang really liked what she heard. She opened the window in her heart. She saw farther and thought higher. She feels more happy doing things for more people than for one family. The lesbian persuaded her again and again. Her father-in-law and mother-in-law had no choice but to agree to let Wanxiang go to the county to attend a training class where she stayed for 3 months. When she came back, she became more stable and stronger, but her appearance was gentler and more modest than when she was young, always with a slightly reserved smile. It seems to be true for everyone and everything. Have a sweet heart for life. People would naturally look at her and wonder what happy thing happened to her in surprise. Indeed, Wanxiang seems to have returned to her mother's arms. Now someone cares about her, takes care of her, and is full of hope for her. She was like a child learning to walk in front of her mother. She took a step and looked around, feeling that everyone around her was watching her, working hard for her, and encouraging her. She is no longer an orphan, alone and knows only labor. The poor man must avoid harsh scoldings and vicious beatings at all times. Now the warm spring breeze is blowing all over the wilderness, white clouds are floating in the blue sky, and the mountain paths are like broad roads. Wanxiang followed her brothers and sisters-in-law during the day, plowing and mowing. Carrying burdens up and down, going from house to house at night, imitating the people of the work teams, and publicizing various policies of the party and the government. If she understands, she will speak out from her own experience. If she still doesn't understand, she will read everything she has heard. She became the leader of the women's group. She also became the women's director. There were only about 20 households in this village, so she had to figure out the feelings of half of the people in the village. She was subsequently recruited into the Communist Party. She has a real mother, she is growing up slowly in this village, and she lives here. Just like a fish in water, free and comfortable. No one looked down upon her, and no one was dissatisfied with her. In 1954, the volunteer soldier who fought against U.S. aggression and aided Korea came back. Every night he went to the village to visit his uncles, brothers, and brothers. Telling some unheard battle stories, everyone saw him as an extraordinary man. Wanxiang knew that he was comrade, and her heart almost jumped out of her chest. She no longer regards him as just a life partner, but as two people who share the same ideals and can rely on for life. People who share a sacred relationship of speech. Li Gui didn't stay for a few days before going to school in Sichuan to study culture, politics, and military affairs. The party must cultivate this group of brave and loyal warriors who returned from North Korea. In a few years, they will become a group of junior military cadres with practical combat experience. Du Wanxiang still stayed in this small, closed ravine. She worked hard for their whole family, and she also worked hard for the women in this mountain village. Year after year. Is she in this ravine, with its construction and development, slowly and step by step moving towards socialism and communism society? Flying to the great northern wilderness. In the spring of 1958, the whole village in Lijiagu was talking about a new thing. Li Gui collectively transferred from the military school in Sichuan to the great northern wilderness in the northeast. There are all kinds of speculations in the small village. What kind of place is that? The border garrison, thousands of miles away, was a place where criminals in ancient times were exiled and suffered. What happened to this kid Li Gui? He resisted U.S. aggression and aided Korea, fought in wars, suffered hardships, and was a meritorious person. Why did he change his job and end up there? This is probably not good. Judging from Li Gui's letter, there is no clue. He only said that he wanted to support border construction and asked his wife to go too. Can we go to the Great Northern Wilderness? The Great Northern Wilderness, where exactly is it? I heard that it is a very cold place. It snows in June and is freezing in winter. The wind will sweep people away. If you touch your nose, it will fall off. Touch the ears and the ears will come down. The sisters-in-law looked at Wanxiang with sympathy, saying they couldn't go there. The father-in-law and mother-in-law also said that if the daughter-in-law left again, it would be more difficult for the son to return home. It was better to ask his superiors to change his job and return to his hometown. Comrades from the village party branch also said that they would not necessarily go. It's boring to go there to be a family member, so it's better to stay in the village and do work. Wanxiang smiled silently, listening to all kinds of discussions and persuasion, and finally said, "Mom, Dad, let me go and take a look. At least I can tell you the real situation. Where Li Gui can go." What I can't say is that Li Gui changed jobs collectively. He is not the only one, but there are many people. There is a place where so many people can live. Why can't I live and build the frontier? Construction is work, and I won't eat ready-made meals. Murakami's work. There are many people who can do it, and they are the same without me. I see, I'm going to order it. Father-in-law and mother-in-law, everyone saw that she was determined and had to agree with her. She was still carrying a small bag, which contained a few changes of clothes, some snacks for combing her hair and washing her face, and a few corn cakes. There was also money sent by Ligue, who said goodbye to his hometown where he had grown up here for more than 20 years. Her father-in-law walked dozens of miles with her to Tianshui station and told her to write a letter back in detail when she got there. The train rumbled eastward. Continuous distant mountains. Flying backward layer by layer. The roads and fields on both sides of the car were endless, moving closer and then flowing past rapidly. Why is the sky so blue? White clouds gather in the sky, but they disappear with the turning of the blue sky. Suddenly, new white clouds came up. Wanxiang used to see the vast sky on the plateau, and see the end of the world, but now she can't see the endless mountains, rivers, fields and woods, the ever-changing scenery, and the wind is so soft. Waves of wind blew in from the car window, slightly fluttering the short hair on her forehead and brushing her crimson cheeks. The sun was shining brightly in the western sky. When the train turned north, the red light like fire in the sky shone directly into the window. It is transparent and seems to be covered in a layer of light mist. The fireball with golden light slowly sank. The sky looks like a big net, the purple fog rises, and dark cyan appears on both sides. Dusk is falling, and night is falling. The train passed a small station. Another small station, one big city after another. Countless people, holding children and elderly people in their hands, carrying large and small bags, ran to the platform, crowded into the carriages, and sat on the newly vacated seats. But there was another long queue at the station. Walking through the ticket-checking area to the sound of music singing about our great motherland. Dazzling lights were shining on the platform, and the train was moving again. Far and near, the stars were covering the sky, and the shining lights that were brighter than the stars were passing by in large groups. Ha! Motherland, motherland! You are so vast, so majestic, so mysterious and charming. Du Wanxiang was thrown from a small ravine into this new universe that she could not even dream of. She was too nervous to look at it and didn't have time to think about it. He seemed exhausted, but his expression was uplifted. His eyes were wide open, as if he had endless power. She just sat in the car, eating some tortillas and drinking some boiled water. She followed the flow of people, entering and exiting the station, getting off the bus and getting on the bus. 3 days and nights passed. A fellow passenger in the car told her that Bedawang had arrived. Oh! Bedawang has arrived. What is this place? The train stopped on the track, and the station and the snow on both sides of the platform were lined with all kinds of red, green, blue, and black trains. An unnamed machine as big as a house or bigger than a house. The machine was covered with green, yellow, and gray raincloths, and there was a thick layer of snow on the raincloths. There were circles of people everywhere, people wearing coats and cotton-padded clothes. Shining eyes were exposed under the big fur hat, and they were smiling with their mouths open. They all seemed to know each other very well. One person asked, "Which farm are you from?" The other said, "Ha! Look! These Luoyang Oriental Hong is playing for us." Someone in the distance shouted again, "Hey, what kind of machine is this? Which country makes it? We want domestically produced ones." Others said, "You will return to the field one day and rush to transport the bean seeds and tractor parts." Waiting at home. Groups of people from far and near shouted slogans and carried something to the farm. Car clothes. Large and small packages filled the car. The big wheels of the Jifang brand, which had just left the factory, were wrapped with anti-skid iron chains and drove off in groups. I really can't say how wide or big the car parking lot outside the station is. The cars are like a big box, densely packed, and they are all big trucks with 10 wheels. When I asked about it, I said, They are all from farms, but I can't tell which farm they are from. There are many farms here. Standing on the slope and looking around, the roads extend out in all directions from here like a spider web. Where do these many roads lead to? They lead to the farm. There are not many streets. There are not many shops, but the road is wide, with drainage ditches dug on both sides of the road. Small white birch trees are planted neatly beside the ditch, and they are all newly planted. The streets were crowded with people, as if they were attending a party. The people here are so weird. When shopping, they only buy those few things, including thermos bottles, lunch boxes, anti-mosquito hats, floral towels. Everyone buys and sells them like old acquaintances. I often hear the salesperson ask kindly, "Has the spring wheat been sown?" The newly arrived anti-mosquito oil is from Guangzhou. It is very effective. Buyers also ask, "Do you have the ylang sickle for the rainy season wheat harvest? We need more." The busiest place is the soy milk and fried dough sticks shop. People who get off the train, get off the bus, and stay in the guest house all like to come here to drink a bowl of hot soy milk and eat 2 fried dough sticks freshly out of the pan. It's also a great place to exchange news. The news is about one aspect, the farm. I heard that you have a retired officer, a hero who fought in Shanganling. I heard that the minister is here again, going to XX farm. Here it comes. Come to our place. When the minister comes, he does not go to the department or enter the office. I still had the same enthusiasm as when I reclaimed Nanawan. I took a small jeep and went to the field first to check the quality of land preparation and wheat sowing. Then I plunged into the cab and tried it out myself, checking the maintenance quality of the locomotive and farm tools, as well as the tractor operator and farm tools. The hands were chatting and laughing, and it was very exciting. I had just arrived at the farm and was mentally unstable. I didn't know how to let the minister know. He found Ma Jiao where I lived and talked to me. "You fought in the war and made meritorious deeds. Now you are here to cultivate and guard the border, wage war on the earth, fight against nature, and build a communist society. This is a heroic career that requires great ambition and a lifetime of work. You will be missed by generations to come. Thank you." I listened to the minister's words, brought my wife and children here, and settle down here for the rest of my life, haha. During the wheat harvest last year, it rained continuously for months. The men, machines, and animals in the team all went into battle. A platoon leader in our team who had retired from the profession took a sickle and sat in the shade of a tree by the roadside, reading a book. After a while, an old man came over, holding a sickle in his hand, wearing jiffang shoes, and rolled up his trouser legs. He saw it and asked him, "Why are you reading here instead of going to the ground?" He replied, "Whoever is willing to do it can do it, I won't go." The old man stopped and asked, "This is Lonko to seize wheat. Everyone is going, why don't you go?" He replied, "I just don't like it." The old man got angry and shouted, "If you don't go, I will put you in solitary confinement." He said, "You can't control me, you are the boss." The old man smiled and said, "I am Wang Zhen, can I control you?" The platoon leader was frightened, picked up the sickle and ran away. He was full of shame. When he saw people in the field, he said, "What's wrong with the minister? He set a record for cutting this day. 3 acres and 5 cents of land." When Du Wanxiang heard this, she also laughed. These first impressions are engraved deep in my heart. A group of customers in the soy milk shop left and another group came in, from 4 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening. How come there are people there at 4 o'clock in the morning? It turns out that the sun rises early in Beidawang and then at 3 o'clock. There are people moving as soon as the sun breaks. Who can wait until the sun is high before getting up from the Kong? Morning here is now the best time of the day. At 4 o'clock, and later at 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock, a thin line of transparent white light appeared in the eastern sky. The breeze brings the comfortable coolness of melting snow, and the aroma like old wine from the awakening woods blows into the nostrils and penetrates the heart. The white light slowly turned to crimson, the stars in the sky disappeared, and the chirping of birds came from far and near. A golden red edge surged up from behind the clouds, and the layers of clouds were lined with narrow, translucent golden edges. People couldn't help but say in their hearts, "The sun is coming out," so everything showed infinite vitality, and the boiling life began again. Du Wanxiang was received in the guest house. The guest house was full, with people coming and going in the rooms, corridors, dining rooms, and courtyards. It was easy for everyone to ask in unison, "Which farm are you from? Where are you assigned to do what work? How is your farmhouse built and you still live in a tent?" There are 2 lesbians and a little boy living in Du Wanxiang's room. A lesbian who is 18 or 19 years old looks like a student, moves quickly and speaks well. He is smart, holds his head high, and only glances at people from the corners of his eyes. When she heard someone in the next room say that there were many wolves in the great northern wilderness, she moved her lips, exposed a row of white teeth, and sneered, Wolves are nothing, they are commonplace." That blind bear really broke out. When he saw the tractor coming, he didn't get out of the way and used his 2 big paws to catch the headlights. She's good with tractors. It turns out that she is a tractor driver. She has driven so many fields in the farm for 1 year that she can't even count. Du Wanxiang really admires her and thinks she is an unattainable person. The other one is the wife of a retired Navy officer, has a little boy who is over half a year old. What a warm and gentle woman she is. She asked Du Wanxiang's hometown and origins cordially and carefully, and encouraged her. Bidawang, there is nothing scary. You will get used to it after living for a few more days. I am a southerner and grew up in a big city. When it comes to life, there is food and clothing there. Enjoyable, everything is good. When I heard that I was going to come here, I also thought about what I would do in such a cold place. When I first came here, it was the end of February in the Gregorian calendar. It was freezing and snowy, the wind was biting, and I had no place to live. I had to make everything from scratch to eat sorghum, rice, and soybeans. Starting from humble beginnings was not a hardship. It's really hard to get used to it. Hey, been busy for a while, so weird. We all like it here, and we are determined to settle down here and, as the minister said, start a career. Enjoying ready-made food and eating leftover soup and water from other people's bowls is really tasteless. Now I want to send this child to his grandma's house, and then take him back when there is a kindergarten here in 2 years. As long as a person is full of infinite love for the party, the revolution, and the poor people, there is no difficulty that cannot be overcome. Only if you don't want to do your best for something can you understand what real life and happiness are. This woman, who became more and more excited as she spoke, looked at Wanxiang and felt that she had said too much and went too far, so she said with regret. He said slowly, "People like you have suffered. If you know how to work, are a party member, and have a husband who is a volunteer soldier, you will definitely like this place and live a good life. I really hope you can live well and work well." Her husband, who was once a Navy soldier, was handsome, with thick eyebrows and handsome eyes. Modest and kind, he also came to the room, greeted Du Wanxiang politely, happily picked up their son, and took his lover for a walk outside. What kind of people are these? What the hell is this place? This is home dash. People at the reception station. According to the address, I handed Du Wanxiang to a driver and took his truck to XX farm. In the same car, there were also family members of 2 families, all with their children and their daughters, and 3 cadres working on errands. The weather was bright that day, the ground was still hard, and there were specks of unmelted snow. A piece of debris in the east and a piece in the west is still accumulated on the road, and the wheels roll over, making a rattling sound. The sun shines on the distant mountains and on the ground on both sides of the road, reflecting dazzling white light in some places. On the protruding ground and on the sunny slopes, there is black soil stained with mud and water. People who come from the Lus Plateau see this endless, greasy black earth that evaporates moisture and oozes as cars move along. It is really lovely. The people in the same car told her, Heilongjiang people often say that if you stick a chopstick in the soil here, it will sprout. There are mountains in the distance along the way. There are plains in the distance, with few villages and sparsely populated areas. Cars are driving on the roads where only cars can be encountered. The scenery seems very monotonous, but no one is willing to take their eyes away from the surroundings and regard every discovery as a miracle's point to each other. A breeze blew by. I saw a light mist coming from the horizon. The mist quickly became heavier and thicker, like layers of gray cotton wool covering the heads. People were doubting and asking each other with surprised eyes, but suddenly they saw a small white feather. It flew down like blown petals, first in scattered pieces, and then flying in groups. The children in the driver's shed screamed with joy, and the adults also laughed and said, "Why, let's do it. It's not really snowing." The car sped up. Move forward among the flying flowers. The flower pieces are getting bigger and bigger, one after another, but they are flying across the sky lightly, falling silently on the clothes, falling on the headscarf and hat, sticking to the eyelashes and eyebrows, disappearing, and then gathered up, wiped dry, stained again. Nothing can be seen in the sky, only layers of cotton balls that are torn to pieces layer by layer. The whole world is wrapped in peach blossoms, pear blossoms, or hydrangeas. The car couldn't drive fast anymore, and it was groping forward step by step. The driver, comrade, was sweating all over in the spring cold with snow all over the sky. "It's not far away, the farm is just ahead, hurry up and get there." Soon, I heard voices coming from the mist. The car stopped, and a person or a group of people came out, leading people, helping people, and holding children. Those who were carrying things asked kindly, "Is the road going okay? We are really worried about something. Come in quickly and get warm. This is the bus station of the farm. Is there Li Gui in the crowd? Is Li Gui coming to pick him up?" No, no. Du Wanxiang was herded into a big room by people. A large stove made of gasoline barrels burned in the house. The stove tube was as thick as a beam, and the room was filled with warmth. There were no furnishings in the room, only a white wooden table and a few benches. Some people gathered around the family members who had just got off the bus, asking about the cold and warmth, and kept saying, "It's been a hard journey, so let's go to the hostel for a few days and have a good rest. If you have any needs or difficulties, just ask. We're home now." Du Wanxiang didn't know any of these people, but she felt like she was at a relative's house and was warmly received. It's like returning home after a long absence. Everything is unfamiliar, yet everything is so familiar. She also habitually takes care of others just like she did in her hometown. Someone brought boiling water, and she took the bowls and poured them out, holding them in front of others. I saw some mud and cigarette butts on the ground. Then he picked up a handful of strips from the corner of the room and swept them away. Others were a little polite at first, but gradually they no longer felt that she was a new arrival from thousands of miles away, but as if she was also a long-standing host. The cadre who came in the same car. Along the way, she admired Du Wanxiang's calm and happy expression. He said to her, "This is home. We all build our families here. When we first came here, the company commander took our company and said it was to go to the farm. The car drove for 2 days, and the next day it was evening. The car stopped on a wasteland near a mountain, and the company commander said, 'Get out of the car.' Home, home. Where is home? A virgin forest, a piece of barren grassland, where is home? You looked at me hesitantly, and I looked at you, without moving. The company commander said, 'Everyone, get off the car. Everyone is home.' Still not coming down. And said, 'Get out of the car quickly, chop wood, cut grass, cut strips, and build a shack, or we will camp tonight.' The company commander jumped out of the car first, and we all got out of the car one by one. Busy and busy, just settled down at home. Things are different now. You can take a look at the field department tomorrow. There are electric lights, telephones, and high-rise buildings. It was really fun to look back on it. Family life. The 13th production team, more than 30 miles away from the field, is a new team. Ligui is a tractor driver in this team. Although he is a novice, he is cautious and diligent. If he has any questions, he goes to the teacher and works and studies at the same time. In this crowd of newcomers, everyone is doing new things that they have never learned before, so he is very busy. His wife came and he was very happy. He moved out of the dormitory. He settled down in a newly built thatched cottage and left all the renovations to Wanxiang. He was very satisfied that his daughter-in-law, who had worked hard for 11 years in his hometown, should be at ease. Have a few days of leisure and comfort. His salary is enough for them to live on. Du Wanxiang worked hard for a few days and settled into a home. Life seems stable. But people's state of mind cannot calm down from the waves stirred up by the new things along the way. She felt that many things were coming to her mind. With her mind and hands full, she wanted to find someone to talk to and something to do, but Ligui rarely went home. When he came home, he only talked to her about daily life, and said nonchalantly, "Stay here first, and then take your time. Talk about work. Besides, what can you do is just work in the fields and till the grass." But this is a mechanized, large-scale farm, and everything uses machines. I think it's not bad to do the housework well. May is the busy season for sowing here. A group of red tractors walked over the large raked ground and walked far and wide. It was so far away that it was almost invisible, and then it turned around and came back with a roar. Du Wanxiang stood in front of a row of newly planted poplar trees in front of the dormitory for a long time. She is not a person who can express her thoughts. She just came out of a small ravine. I feel like everyone here is better than me. Even Ligui has become a very tall character now. He went abroad and fought against the American soldiers in Korea. He studied for several years and gained a lot of knowledge. Now he is a tractor driver, operating such a big tractor. Cars with dozens of horsepower are galloping in this endless flat black ocean from morning to night, from night to morning. He was talking and laughing with some drivers and other people in the team, and when he got home, he just waited for her to bring him food, and then left again after eating. Go find other people to talk, laugh, or play poker or chess. He has nothing to say to her, just like her father-in-law to her mother-in-law. In fact, he was like this to her in the past, and she never felt inappropriate or had any other requirements, but now she thinks, why did he ask me to come all the way? Just to cook for him, clean the house, and live with him? Although she thought this way, she didn't feel disgusted. Sometimes she didn't feel that she had respect and admiration for him. She just felt that she was her own. Incompetent, quietly harboring a kind of pure resentment. The resentment grew day by day, and she couldn't bear it anymore, so she went to the captain. "Captain, please arrange some work for me. I'm really uncomfortable with my idle time." The captain is an old retired soldier, and his family members come from all over the world. Have dealt with. I understand very well that the family members are not used to living here for the first time, and I always try my best to find ways for them, use their brains, and do detailed ideological work for them. However, I still don't know much about this person who is eager to get a job, and I haven't yet realized that she is full of freshness and the enthusiasm to participate in labor. He only said, "Do you want to work? That's great. We are a new team, we need people for everything, and there is work everywhere. You can do it as you see fit. If you have something to do, just do it. Whatever you can do, just do it. Oh, I want you to be included in the team. I really don't know where to compile it." Wanxiang didn't say anything. But this new family area, which only has more than 30 households, is changing day by day. It used to be an unattended area. The extremely dirty toilet suddenly became clean and was cleaned every day. A layer of lime was spread on the ground, so everyone no longer had to worry about going to the toilet. The front doors of every house are bright and clear, with no coal cores or garbage cigarette butts. At first no one noticed or asked, they just thought it was a natural thing. Some families have many children and buy food. It is often inconvenient to buy oil. When I see Wanxiang has no children, I ask her to carry things and look after the children. Gradually, more and more people came to her for help. They said thank you at first, and then they became accustomed to it. Some people see that she is easy to take care of, and even ask her to do things they can do. When he saw her making shoes, he asked her to make a pair for his children. When he saw her mending clothes, he also brought her husband's clothes and asked her to mend them. There are also people who borrow some food stamps or a few cents from her, but don't remember to pay them back. Wanxiang never cares about these. Anyway, everyone is satisfied with having such a person in this family area. The captain didn't care about them. On the surface, life looked like a calm lake, and they lived leisurely. Li Gui felt that his wife no longer clamored for work. I thought she was living her life with peace of mind. An orphan woman who has been almost exhausted for as many years as she has lived, is now like a small boat that has experienced strong winds and waves, found a small harbor sheltered from the wind, and lived a peaceful life for a few days. Happy summer. In July in the great northern wilderness, the sky is clear and bright, and a gentle breeze blows on people's clothes. The lush grass is thickly covered with colorful flowers, emitting a charming fragrance. Pink cosmos, bright red wild lilies, and graceful daylilies. Big wild peonies and many unnamed flowers are like velvet brocades, decorating the boundless land. Bees, butterflies, and dragonflies fly with colorful wings. Pheasants, ducks, egrets, and waterfowls danced happily in the low humid marshes, including muntjac. The deer are running on the high slopes. It turns out that the owners of the great northern wilderness, the black bears, wild boars, wolves, and foxes, were unwilling to retreat to the remote areas and were nostalgic for the splendid mountains and vast grasslands. They would often sneak into the crop fields in search of food and invade the new owners. On the surface, it looks like a very peaceful fertile field, where all living creatures are fighting for their own growth and survival. The farm scenery surrounded by this beautiful world is even more spectacular. The corn is green, the wheat is yellow, and the tractors are painted bright red. The combine harvester, like a ship, gallops in the golden ocean, splitting the waves of wheat and rolling forward. They walked across a line, revealing a piece of black land, and haystacks like golden towers were arranged in sparse and clear piles on the land, and the sun shone on them. shining with dazzling golden light. Cars were speeding down the road one after another. The courtyard was filled with people, and the loudspeakers played majestic marches and minor tunes, sometimes basses, sometimes sopranos, intoxicating melodies from various ethnic groups. Floating among the workers. People seem to be standing on the top of a mountain and looking around. Sometimes they are floating in the turbulent ocean, drifting with the waves. Sometimes they seem to be walking among small bridges and flowing water, wandering gracefully, but the most noticeable thing is it's still a call from the field headquarters, or a report on production quantity and quality progress. Du Wanxiang led a group of family members, sometimes feeding wheat grains next to the winnowing machine that was puffing out smoke, and sometimes holding a big broom around the hill-like wheat pile. Sweep gently. When have I ever seen so much wheat? This group of young women in colorful clothes formed a team of wild goose feathers in the wheat drying field, and went hand in hand to dry the wheat grains. At this time, Du Wanxiang felt that the entire universe was so solemn and beautiful. She was young. She raised her head and looked around. The faces of her companions were full of enthusiasm and heroism. The singing and labor were mixed together. She lowered her head and took a closer look. Under her feet were pearls rolling around on their bare feet. Those warm, round wheat grains. It pricked the soles of the feet playfully. She stepped on it and stepped back, turning over this piece and then that piece. She seemed to have returned to her childhood, only 7 or 8 years old, and she just wanted to jump and shout. But this was a happy childhood, the same as when I carried half a load of water and climbed up to the plateau alone. Walking home alone again, what a huge difference there is from the young boy who was always on tenterhooks. She unconsciously sang the folk songs from her childhood wildly and loudly. The singing attracted the crowd, and people listened attentively to this pastoral song from the Northwest Plateau. It is high-pitched and clear, spontaneously giving rise to broad feelings and endless reverie. People looked at this little woman who often only smiled silently in amazement. More people responded to her trembling singing voice and couldn't help but sing their familiar country songs. The entire venue was spinning in the pure music melody, with singing voices and smiling faces floating everywhere. What an active life, what a happy life. Du Wanxiang felt no fatigue or hunger while working happily. Everyone took a rest, but she didn't rest. When everyone ate, she didn't stop either. The wages of the workers and family members who worked in the yard were either time-based or piece-based, but her salary was neither time-based nor piece-based. Everyone in the courtyard looked at this little girl who was short, not strong, quiet, and always smiling with surprise, and wondered why she had so much energy. It's strange that there is always such a noble, dignified, and pure brilliance on her ordinary face that attracts people's attention. Ordinary and extraordinary. Winter is coming and the north wind is howling. A burst of smoke, a unique blizzard in the northern wilderness, rolled up snow and sand all over the ground, flying all over the sky. It was dark for a while, and people could not distinguish between east, west, north and south. Even if people put all their energy into it, it was difficult to stand firm. The severe cold in the northern wilderness would not be harmful to them. No one gives in. But the people of Bedawang can proudly enjoy the happiness of the victors. At 30 degrees below zero, my beard and eyebrows were covered with snowflakes, and my eyelashes were condensed into 2 rows of thin popsicles. However, the short hair on my forehead was still wet with sweat, and it was frozen on my forehead. The shirt was soaked with sweat, and the back of the sweater or fleece covering it was covered with a thick layer of snow-white frost. Chopping trees in the mountains, mowing grass in the fields, and digging rocks from rocks are all fierce battle rights that only selected young men can fight for. But Zhu Wanxiang, who had already opened the door to work for herself, bravely plunged into these turbulent waves of labor like a young man, climbing thousands of waves and climbing 10,000 peaks. Just like this, winter passed and summer came, year after year. Du Wanxiang was in an ordinary position, made extraordinary achievements. She always walked calmly, far ahead of her companions. Those who are convinced by her will become more and more convinced, and those who are not convinced by her, then work hard to catch up. Du Wanxiang surged in the torrent, and inspired infinite power in the surge. She always shows her broad mind among all kinds of people and things she encounters. She just quietly does the little things she thinks should be done for this person and that person. But when it comes to year-end evaluations, they always come out like spring water from here and there. Countless praises came out. It sounds very common, but when you think about it, everyone will think that this is not easy for ordinary people to do. So no matter how modest she was always elected unanimously. She was from the team, then from the farm. A model for the whole reclamation area. It seems that Du Wanxiang is sailing up to the blue clouds like a smooth sailing boat, but in fact, like the Yangtze River, there are undercurrents and dangerous shoals. Du Wanxiang often encounters troubles in unexpected things, and she develops from here. She was originally a gentle person and never quarreled, fought, or had any disagreements with others, but the family team was not easy to lead either. Once, she met a man who was stealing from the government. She went up to him and tried to dissuade him with nice words, but to her surprise, the man became more powerful. Scolded her for being nosy. She was shaking with anger, blushing, holding the hand that stole the thing, and scolded heavily and sternly, "How can this be done? This is public property. No one can take it, put it back quickly." The righteousness overwhelmed the opponent and the man softened. Walked away in despair. In the year of low standards, the farm's food supply standards were lowered, and Li Gui's parents moved from the countryside. They also gave birth to a girl, and life became more difficult for a while. After the autumn harvest, many people go to the harvested fields to pick up some food. This year there was a lot of rain and the machine harvesting was not clean, so it was difficult to pick up a lot of land. Li Gui's father followed him to pick up some. Later, some workers also used their breaks to pick it up, and in the evening, they carried all the large and small bags and linen bags back to their homes. Du Wanxiang also followed. She was quick-eyed and diligent, and picked up more than others, but she carried the soybeans and wheat grains she picked up to the yard one sack at a time. So some people pointed at her thin back and laughed at her for being stupid, while some people scolded her behind her back for trying to please the limelight. There were also conflicts in the family. The mother-in-law stopped cooking, saying how could her mother-in-law cook for her daughter-in-law. The father-in-law stopped eating, saying he would save it for the little ones. Li Gui stood on the side of his parents and said naggingly, Everyone picks up a little of the public food and takes it home. It doesn't count. You don't have to pick it up yourself. I worked so hard to pick it up and handed it over to the public, but people complained behind my back. Du Wanxiang ignored the laughter and scolding of others and persuaded her family with good words, so she went to pick it up and handed it over to the farm. She said, "This is her own food. We are state farm workers and we want to see a population of 600 million. The ration standards for our farm workers are already higher than anywhere else." Du Wanxiang, who had big eyes and lost weight, influenced many people. Even the students in primary schools organized themselves to pick up food for the country. 1 year. Many educated young people from big cities came to the farm. Most of them were middle school graduates. They knew many terms, could speak well, could sing and dance, and were so innocent and lively. Team 13 had more than 20 such proud girls. Du Wanxiang was assigned to be their captain. Lead them to work, study, and take care of their lives. The girls were so surprised when they heard the introduction. What, this rustic, unremarkable little woman is a member of the Communist Party, the pacesetter in the reclamation area really can't tell. Alas, it's not a bad name either. I don't know who picked it up. This group of changeable girls played happily for a few days at first, but then some became homesick, and some hummed a song composed by someone, something like, "Whose youth doesn't cherish, dash." In the first few days, they even liked their team leader. I thought she was sincere, serious, amiable, and meticulous in her work, but gradually, I kept noticing her patched blue clothes and her unfashionable hairstyle. Alas, it's so uninteresting. Du Wanxiang patiently told them the story of the farm's establishment, Minister Wang Zhen. Talking about the old Red Army field director, everything she heard, everything that moved her, and the past events of those people with great personalities who educated her. Some people like to listen and are determined to cheer up and learn from the old Red Army. But some people thought she was wordy and looked at her with pouty lips and sneered, "Humph! A semi-literate person. Country bumpkin, family woman, what kind of political lessons are you giving us to lead the labor? Even if you are polite, you will not look in the mirror." But Du Wanxiang didn't seem to understand their contempt, but she was meticulous, confident, and always Rui took care of them with enthusiasm. Guiding them, she loved these girls from the bottom of her heart. They followed Chairman Mao's instructions and left their warm families and affluent life in the city to study and work in the harsh frontiers. They were a group of ambitious seedlings. She should take care of them with her love for Chairman Mao and the party. She felt that she also had to learn from them. Therefore, when she should be considerate to them, she is like a mother, and when she should be strict, she is like a teacher. She understands them and is wide enough. It's time to be strict. Gradually, these girls felt that they couldn't live without her. They looked for her when they were in trouble and couldn't forget her when they were happy. When they came back from visiting relatives, they always gave Sister Du the souvenirs brought by their parents. People who looked down on her. He also realized his shortcomings and slowly changed his attitude towards her. Once Du Wanxiang took them to carry firewood in the woods 10 miles away. When I went out in the morning, the water in the ditch was still covered with thin ice, but when I came back, the ice had melted. The water was 6 or 7 inches deep but about 10 feet wide. When they reached the edge of the ditch, a girl in front stopped and shouted, "Sister Du. The water is too cold, what should I do?" Du Wanxiang took off her water boots without hesitation. But the second one who followed shouted again. Wanxiang squatted down and said, "Come up, I will carry you." Wanxiang carried Wanxiang back and forth for a while, but the last little girl didn't wait for her. She took off her shoes, bit her lip, and walked through the icy water. After crossing the ditch, her feet were so cold that she couldn't help crying. Wanxiang immediately sat on the ground with her and put her feet in her arms. He warmed her with the warmth of his cotton-padded clothes and chest, and rubbed her legs. The girls gathered around and found Du Wanxiang's feet that were purple from the cold. They couldn't help but scream, "Sister Du! Sister Du!" That night, everyone lay on the kong and couldn't sleep for a long time. A girl said, "None of us can do it, and am really convinced." Another said, "We middle school students only talk nice words. Why should we learn from the workers, peasants, and soldiers and revolutionize our thoughts? But what about actions?" Humph. Another added, "Let me see. There may be some among us who take advantage of the loyalty of our comrades who are workers and peasants, take advantage of them, and call them fools." Another corrected, "Don't look down on Sister Du. Sister Du is not stupid. She is stupid and can be a pace setter. Sister Du is truly a good member of the Communist Party. We should learn from her." Deep roots and luxuriant leaves. In the trade union office on the second floor of the magnificent Cultural Palace, Du Wanxiang has come here to work every day since January 1964. She is a female worker officer of the trade union. The chairman of the trade union is a member of the anti-Japanese war old comrades from the period, several officials. The secretaries were all retired officers from the farm after the victory of the Liberation War. The youngest female accountant was also a member of the Volunteer Army Art Troop during the war to resist U.S. aggression and aid Korea. Du Wanxiang respected them all and regarded them as his teachers. They also really love her and are willing to help her work, tutoring her in reading documents and pamphlets, drafting work plans for her, organizing learning experiences, and various speeches, because Du Wanxiang is often invited to attend a symposium with some model workers. They have to go to the production team to talk about their experiences and their understanding of studying Chairman Mao's works. Sometimes they have to participate in experience exchange meetings with model workers in agricultural reclamation areas and provinces. In addition, they have to meet with reporters and receive visiting leading comrades. Honor rushes towards you like the spring breeze and flowing water, gentle and moist. But Du Wanxiang did not get drunk. She ran out of the building and visited all the agencies, enterprises, and nearby production teams directly under the field department in a short period of time. Later, she went to those remote teams to stay for a few days. Work together with employees' families, talk to cadres and the masses, and hold symposiums. She organized the purpose of understanding what she saw, and learned into materials and asked questions. She persisted in studying culture at night school. In the past 2 years, those who studied with her were surprised at the speed of her progress. The officers and secretaries in the same office originally thought that she was just an ordinary female cadre promoted by the party, but now they feel that she is more than that. Her progress with each passing day is very eye-catching. What is the reason that makes her have such a great, noble, and pure sentiment every day? Du Wanxiang wants to talk about her learning experience again. Several comrades around were busy again and they were very enthusiastic. I am happy to help her write this speech better and more vividly. They talked with her, read newspapers, magazines, documents, Marxist-Leninist works and Chairman Mao's works, and wrote their speeches perfectly, smoothly and clearly. Du Wanxiang read these speeches and felt they were very good. It's just that she felt that the pain she had had before was coming to disturb her again, and this could not be repeated again. In the past, she used to feel uneasy and empty when she was on stage, in the presence of thousands of people, and in the applause after reading the speech. The lecture notes are indeed well written. There were quotes from newspaper editorials, experiences from studying Chairman Mao's works, and experiences from advanced figures, but Du Wanxiang always felt that those beautiful words were not her own. But she was telling other people's words, and she seemed to be lying. She couldn't continue like this. She does not have to be a model, give speeches, or have her name appear in newspapers, but she must be honest. Although she can't write articles now, she can and should speak her truth. Just tell her what she thinks. So she decided to redraft it and think about it herself. Sort out the clues, use words you understand, and speak your mind. She first wrote an outline and presented it to several comrades in the trade union and to the night school teachers, asking for their opinions. Then, for the first time at the workers' meeting, she followed what she had prepared. To put it in my own words, this was the end of 1965. That night, the mirror-like sky was shining with dense stars, without a trace of wind. The cypress forest in the square in front of the Cultural Palace was covered with a thick layer of white snow, looking tall and solemn. On the road near and far, there is a faint white shimmer floating and reflecting. The night is cold and quiet. However, brilliant lights shone from the Cultural Palace, and jubilant laughter and applause could be heard from time to time. It turned out that it was Du Wanxiang who was in the Cultural Palace. He reported his work and thoughts to all the staff in the warm auditorium, which was packed with people both upstairs and downstairs. She started from her childhood, the remote valley, where generations of people worked hard and suffered exploitation and oppression. And in the difficult years of ignorant people, in such a backward and tortured life, how she imagined living another world, another life, and another kind of relationship between people. Everyone who listened followed Du Wanxiang into the dark and heavy era, and into the hearts of the toiling people. They thought back to themselves and to their ancestors who had been whipped by violent storms. Recalling the strong will to live and perseverance of struggle of our ancestors. Although there were 3 mountains weighing on the head of old China, the working people showed their strength, and Du Wanxiang was just a small grass that emerged from the infinite drought plateau. It is a red apricot growing proudly in the wind and sand. Du Wanxiang's report turned to the new glorious world brought about by the victory of the revolution. So a spring breeze blew into the auditorium of the Cultural Palace, and people were inspired by a new life. The vast, colorful waves rolled in with Du Wanxiang's simple words, "Motherland. The people's motherland. How rich and vast are you! Your clear blue sky, your fresh and tender grasslands, your jagged villages, your green forest belts covered with thick shades. Your gentle and colorful river, your majestic ancient city and prosperous new capital, everything in the motherland embraces people's hearts, and everyone's heart is intoxicated, immersed in happiness, and the waves are surging, and I just want to ride the strong wind and ride the huge waves. Fly over the mountains and rivers to slay the dragon and kill it. What is the cutest place? It's Beidawang. What is the noblest cause? It is the reclamation and construction of the great northern wilderness. Who is the most admired person? It is the creation of the world, arduous and persevering. People from the great northern wilderness gain victory from the struggle and enjoy the fun from the struggle. They stay away from home, reclaiming grasslands and wastelands for the motherland, guarding the northern gate for the motherland, defending the border, and building the border. They broke with traditional consciousness and emotions and were full of pride. Build a modern socialist agricultural base and train yourself to become a new type of worker with noble moral character. They produce wealth and create culture. This is the frontier of the motherland, but it is closely connected to the heart of the motherland. People hear this. A stream of heat surges from my heart, and I just want to shout, party. Wise and great party. What you give to the world is light. It is hope. It is warmth. It is happiness. We will always be for you and our common household. Fight for the cause of communism, we belong to you. Du Wanxiang finally said. I'm an ordinary person doing ordinary things that everyone does. I can understand a little bit. I am where I am today because of you, the hard-working comrades and people with ideals who inspire and encourage me. All of us have been educated and trained by the party. I only hope that I will always be under the leadership of the party, seek truth from facts, and honestly abide by the party's requirements, and strive for the cause of communism throughout my life. Du Wanxiang finished speaking and stood in front of the stage. He looked at the auditorium full of people and smiled humbly. There was still silence upstairs and downstairs, and people were still waiting for the speech, which was like gurgling water and curling piano music, to continue. They saw and heard it in her speech. Feeling things that I have not seen, heard, or felt, or real life and some meaningful and thought-provoking people and things that I have seen, heard, or felt but ignored. Du Wanxiang did not cite any classics. But some famous sayings and philosophies in classic works were integrated into her simple speeches. Just like crops absorb sunshine, rain and dew, some good people, good deeds and good words can penetrate into her heart and blood, making her deeply rooted. Yi Mao makes her resistant to all viruses. Du Wanxiang is not impassioned, but rather kind and meticulous. No matter how admirable and convincing she is always so approachable, frank, simple and strong, without any pretense, and is always a person with fire-like enthusiasm. Du Wanxiang is familiar to everyone. At this time, the party committee secretary approached her, held her hand tightly, and said happily and sincerely, "Comrade Wanxiang, you really taught me a good lesson. I, on behalf of everyone, thank you." Suddenly, there was a thunderous applause in the auditorium. The vast number of employees who woke up from their meditation felt as if they had discovered a fire in the middle of the night, and infinite hope surged in their hearts. They completely affirmed Du Wanxiang, and she was worthy of being our vanguard. We must learn from her and move forward together with her. Originally published in People's Literature, July